PDP Governorship Aspirant for the Anambra 2021 governorship election. Our guest tonight is Lady Chidi Onyemelukwe.
I am Chidi Onyemelukwe. I'm a lawyer and a member of the PDP. I'm one of the aspirants under the PDP platform, aspiring to be governor of Anambra State come March 2022. Academic background. Okay,
yes.
I'm basically a lawyer. I have a degree in law from the University of Wales, and I attended the law school in Nigeria in 1989. So I got my DL in 1990. I also have an MBA from King University and a Master's in International Law and Diplomacy from the University of Lagos. In terms of basic education and degrees, I also have the New York bar, because I lived in the States for a while. And I've practiced as a lawyer and also as a banker. And I've run a foundation, the Kweme Foundation, which caters to educating the less privileged children who are bright but just can't afford an education, or whose parents can't afford an education. That's basically, that's the passion. That's my passion, and that's what I've done principally, apart from working in the bank and working as a lawyer and working as a company secretary for Domestic Power Limited, the first indigenous IPP in Nigeria. In terms of public service, I've worked as a special assistant to the president and SME, President for Bassington, in his first tenure. And then I also served as chairman, Federal Housing Authority, chairman of the board, in President Yar'Adua's tenure. The truth of the matter is, the legal profession, don't get jealous or anything, but it's fact. We are the ones who are learning. And my dad was an architect. A few decades, he decided he was going to go and study law, so he would also be referred to as a learned gentleman. You find lawyers in every sphere. So once you're a lawyer, you have the basic foundation that would set you on the right path, whatever it is.
At what point did you decide to go into politics?
Okay. I don't think there was ever a point where I just decided to go into politics. I was brought up in a political home, and so I would like to say that politics was basically even before became vice president. He was, and we always had a full house because, as I said, he ran a foundation that catered to the education of thousands of youth. So we basically grew up around politics. So as soon as I was to know this is what's going on, I was a part of it, because it was in 1983 level exams, and so I had a free which coincided with the campaigning, the second tenure of Shagari and the Kweme, and I participated. Maybe that it's from then I realized, I could actually enjoyed. I had the time of my life in 1982.
You were telling us about how you went into politics, and then, of course, anyone who knows you knows that you are daughter of Chief Alex Ekweme, the former vice president in the Second Republic. Let's talk briefly. Are you able to tell us briefly, what does it feel like growing up in such a prominent family as yours?
It's interesting, the question, growing up in such a prominent family. When you're growing up in there, you don't realize it's prominence. For you, it's normal. You're just simply growing up as a child, and you believe everybody is the same way. But What I would say is we always had a full house, as I said earlier, because growing up, I thought there were about 100, my parents had 100 children because our house was always full of cousins and relatives and friends and scholars. But my parents were very strict. I wouldn't say that there was any difference about the prominence or anything because my parents lived a very simple life. And in fact, for us, I think my parents were stricter than most. So we got the discipline that basically everybody else got. But the good thing about it was we learned to share, you know, because I wouldn't say we got more than anybody else. And yet there were a lot of people that you needed to share with, and nobody was treated any differently from the other, you know, which I find is very different these days. I noticed that with some of our peers and their children, you know, there's some people would say, for instance, oh, my driver, you know, you see young children saying, oh, my driver or my house help. That's not the way we were brought up, and that's not the way we brought up our children. So I don't know that it would be any different from anybody else. I would just say the difference was that our family was larger, so to speak, than anybody else's.
Okay, now let's talk about Anambra State politics. Now you've decided to throw yourself into Anambra politics. What do you think is the major problem facing Anambra State?
Major problem facing Anambra State in terms of just the state, or in terms of the politics, or in terms of the party, just generally?
Yeah, yes, in terms of, let's say generally first, before we narrow it down to the party. Generally in Anambra State, what do you think is the most important problem facing the average Anambrarian?
I think the most important issue for the typical Onyanambra is the same as for the typical Nigerian in 2021. We have the same issues of insecurity, we have the same issues of unemployment, lack of healthcare, poor quality education, things that are general to everybody in Nigeria at the moment. The average Nigerian person isn't necessarily a happy camper. We have issues with leadership generally. I wouldn't say it's just peculiar to Anambra State. It's basically an issue that we have now in the country, maybe globally, but more so in Nigeria. In Anambra State in particular, we have a hard-working industrious set of people in the Anambra, as they would say, in our Bambo. So maybe actually in the Anambra are better able to cope with certain things because we have that can-do spirit, and the hustle is real. But as real as the hustle is, the problems and the issues and the challenges are equally as real.
All right, what about the PDP as a party? How long have you been a member of the party, the People's Democratic Party?
I've been a member from inception, or maybe prior to inception, because we started with G18, G34, and I was privileged to be in a position where I performed the duties of a confidential secretary, so to speak, for my dad. So I did a bit of the typing of the documents and things. So from inception, I've been a PDP member. I say that I have PDP in my DNA, and I'm here to stay. And no leave, no transfer.
And you've not joined any other political party since then? You've never decamped?
No. It's not in my DNA. Elegi was PDP from beginning to end. In fact, his last public outing was at the rally, the PDP rally in Onitsha. And I wouldn't say that maybe he was the best treated or appreciated person in the party, but he, as he would say, you don't build a house and then tear it down with your own hands, no matter what the issues are. So I don't plan to go anywhere. I'm here to stay.
All right, from the beginning, the PDP won the first governorship election in Anambra State in 1999. Mbademiju was in power for 4 years, and then Chris Ngige succeeded him and was there for only 3 years. And then since then, the People's Democratic Party has not been able to win another governorship election in Anambra State. What would you say is the reason for that?
Well, let's start by saying that, the word win is maybe it's subjective, but okay, if let's say that PDP hasn't won any elections since then. We've had issues in the party like any other party, I would say. But what I'd like to say basically is that Anambra State is a PDP state. You asked me about decamping. You would find that with every election in Anambra State, we've had, after primaries, some of our people decamp to other parties and or support other parties, and that is what I would say is the principal issue that we've had as a party. I would like to say things will be different this time. I believe they will be. But if you ask me, I believe that PDP has either won the elections in Anambra State or has helped whoever it is who won to win. We're still a PDP state as it is right now. We have 3 senators. 2 of them are PDP senators, and the one who isn't a PDP senator was in PDP before he decamped to other parties. So, I mean, it's clear that I would say the heart and soul of our people were PDP. PDP started in Anambra State anyway, and we had a clean sweep in 1999.
Okay, would you accept that part of the reasons why the PDP has not won some of these elections is because the PDP in Anambra State have remained a divided party?
No, I wouldn't say we're a divided party. In the end, we're still one party, but naturally, when you're dealing with human beings, each human being is different. So I wouldn't say the party has been divided, but if you see, even on the national level, you find that other parties consist of a lot of PDP members who become. I think our politics is still at the level where people think about self, more about less than about party or the collective good or the common good. And hopefully things would evolve. In politics, it's said that the party is supreme. And I'm glad to have the right footsteps and the right path to follow, because we saw that in Jos, for instance, after what happened in Jos, I think the mantra was the party is supreme, and everybody put hands together. Even those who supposedly lost the primaries put hands together and worked with the party, and that's how PDP was able to make a clean sweep of the Southeast and the North, a lot of the northern states, and the South-South, and interestingly, not the Southwest, where the presidential candidate came from, because that generation, we really did work for the good of Nigeria. It wasn't about individuals, it was also about the party. Hopefully, as I said, we're going to evolve to that level where our people also see that it's not about me or you, it's about the collective good, it's about the party, it's about our vision, it's about our plan for not just the party, but for our people and for our state.
All right, thank you. If you are just joining our program, we are interviewing Lady Chidi Onyemelukwe, a PDP governorship aspirant for Anambra State. Anambra State will have a governorship election in November 2021. We will invite our listeners to ask questions, but that will be in the next 15 minutes or so. If I may ask, so would you say now that right now PDP in Anambra State is united, or do we have factions? Are they agreed as to who constitutes the state executive of the party at the moment?
Yes, we are. We are one party now. In fact, it hasn't been like this for a while, for a long time. This time around, we have one state executive and none other. It hasn't happened before. It has happened before, but it hasn't happened in a long time. So we're good to go. We're in a good stead this time, better than we have been in the past few elections. And so we're hoping for the best, really, and praying for the best and working, of course, for the best come November.
All right. So what is your vision for Anambra State as a governorship aspirant?
My vision for Anambra State, first of all, is for Anambra to be restored, put back on the path for greatness. We need to have our leadership. We need to have righteousness enthroned in the leadership of Anambra State and then in Anambra State. I believe that everything starts from the top and flows down. Our people have lost really trust and confidence, not just in politics and in the leadership, but in life. There's a lot of hopelessness. We've been around the states, we've toured the 21 local government areas. There's a lot of despondency. And as I said, the issues are not just peculiar to Anambra, it's just in the air pervading at the moment. So we need to restore our people's trust and confidence in the leadership in the first place. That is where we need to start. And when we talk about restoration, after restoring confidence and trust in the leadership, then we can talk about restoring the public institutions, infrastructure, restoring the dilapidated structures and everything else in Anambra State. We need to start from the very beginning and we need to start from the foundation. So my vision is for where we would have a leadership that is really a leadership that people have trust and confidence in, a leadership that's for the people and not for self, a leadership that knows that it's accountable to self, to the people, and to God. Those are the basic things. If we don't fix that foundation, then we really can't build anything on top of that. So when the foundation is right, then we can set Anambra State on the right path, and then we can talk about moving to greatness.
In Anambra State now, would you say that there is a disconnect between the leadership and the citizens? My question was, do you see a disconnect between the leadership and the led, between the political leaders and the citizens in Anambra State? And if you do, how do you think that problem can be corrected?
Yes, thank you. Definitely there's a disconnect between the led and the leaders, between the people and the leaders. As I said, we've been around the 21 local government areas in Anambra State. We know that actually, even without going around, you realize that there's them and there's us. And we've come to the stage where people, all they're expecting from you is, bring the money, because we know that, as usual, all that is going to happen is, next 4 years, they come back, they give us money, and then we don't see them for the next 4 years. And then when it's time for elections again, they come around. So our people are at the stage where not just that they expect the money, they demand the money, because they believe that this is their own dividend of democracy. That's the only way they're going to benefit from the government. They don't even expect anything from the government anymore. We need to redress that simply by having, that's where being in touch with the people makes all the difference in the world. It's important that as leaders, we need to remain connected. There's a lot of psychopathy in our system. And I find that even just as an aspirant, if you let our people, they would run around you in circles and carry your bag and carry you if you let them. And our people get carried away with things like that. The disconnect starts even from this stage. You find that once you express interest, I'd like to run for the governorship elections. Everybody is calling you excellence, and we're dancing around you. Some of us are running around with long convoys and sirens, simply because you've expressed an interest. And there are people expect this. I've been to an event where somebody said, governor. That is where we are. So there's a disconnect, even from this stage. we need to realize that leadership is about service to the people. That is the truth of the matter. And, you know, not to get carried away with the noise and the psychophancy, because if you let them, they would make you imagine that you're a mini God. And for some of our people, they're not used to this sort of thing. It gets to the head. There's nobody who doesn't want the applause, you know, and the clapping and everything. You need to stay focused. Once you realize that what you're going to do is service, it's work. It has to be a sacrifice. If you're going there to be excellency and have the convoy and to make all the noise and then to eat more than you should, then there's a problem and the disconnect will remain. Once you know you're accountable to God and to the people. So in other words, you have to be coming from the right prism. I believe that when you get there, you have your feet steady on the ground and you have to keep open the lines of communication. You have to have town hall meetings. You have to meet with the people. You have to let the people come to you. You have to go to the people. You need to have a listening ear. You need to listen and be able to implement what it is, because in the end, it's for the people. Really, there's a lot wrong with our system, but I would say that just from my experience in this, I think we allow it. We let it happen, and we don't hold our leaders accountable. You know, nobody knows. As I go around, I ask, do you know how much of the budget is how much goes to education? Nobody knows, and nobody really cares. Do you know how much comes in? No. So
if I may pick you up from there, sorry, it's one of the questions I wanted to ask. Anambra State appears to have high rate of school dropout, and the educational institutions appears to not really care about those who are being left out of the system. From your investigations, do you have any data of the number of children who should be in school and out of school now? Or do we have an audit of schools that are lacking, that doesn't look like a school?
Well, schools that aren't looking like schools, I would say majority of our schools don't look like schools. But as I said, we celebrate, it's not even mediocrity. I think our people are used to just life going on as usual and whatever happens. I think it was last week or so, there were these photos of a school that trended. And amazing, it was a ramshackle, it was just planks of wood cut across. Well, what was most amazing about those photos, I'm sure you saw them because they went viral last week. What was most amazing about those pictures was how happy the children looked in that ramshackle setup. It wasn't even a building, it was just planks. But they were so happy because they don't know any better, and that's what they're used to. Anambra State, you know, as I said, I'm Anambra, and we have issues. Now things are changing a little, but you know, I know that before, the girls are the ones who go to school. Why? Because the boys have to gem wall and they need to just get out and start making the money fast. And the girls are the ones who go to school. The truth of the matter is, every child should be in school.
Do we have the data?
No, I don't have the data. We don't have the data. We don't have the data. And the truth of the matter is, until you do a proper audit, you can't tell, you don't know, but you know there's a problem, because all you need to do is step outside and you see all the children. I live in front of a market, and a quarter of the people out there selling are the children. And every day, if you go to Onitsha, children are carrying trays on their heads when they should be in school. And as long as that doesn't matter, we're going to
if I may ask at this junction, will you commit to our listeners that if you become governor, you will work towards creating that data?
Us getting the proper data. Oh, yes, of course, because you have to know the extent of the problem to be able to start tackling it, or even to know what it is that you need to commit to it. But I was saying that in 2017 and now also, we've committed to the UN prescribed budgetary allocation for education is 26% of a budget. And so either way, I'm committing to that, because this, you see, when the UN prescribes, it's based on research. This is what is supposed to, so basically just over a quarter, because we're going to have to invest in our children and in the future. That's part of the foundation. If you don't invest in them, even after and after and after. But yes, these are things that need to be done and need to be made open so we know. As I said, the average man on the street has no clue what it is. Day in, day out, we're just living and saying we'll do. But what is important is when you prescribe, so whatever it is that the budget is, you're prescribing, you're allocating over a quarter to education. Of course, education is not just in terms of the building, it's in terms of the teacher, qualitative and affordable education. And it needs to be free. In Anambra State, if education isn't free, nothing you say about the laws is going to work. You're not going to be able to enforce it or implement it. Because if a woman is hungry and her children are hungry and she doesn't have any money to feed that child, nothing you say will make her put that child in school unless education is free. And when education is free and she knows that that child is in school, then she's free to go and hustle to make more money. Nobody is going to pay for education if they can't afford it, or even if they can afford it, it's taking money from them when, as far as they're concerned, it's not priority. So I've committed to that as well, as we did in 2017. Education is going to be free up to JS3. That is my, and you know, my name is Ekwem. So as I say it, I do it. That is priority. Otherwise, we're not building for tomorrow. So that's basic.
Okay. Well, thank you. Our previous guest on this forum has identified the problem of godfathers in Anambra politics as one of the major impediments to a governor performing. How do you intend to do you see it as a problem anyway? Godfathers in Anambra politics, is it a problem to you?
Okay, there are two things. You put the problem into positions and then they have they're obligated to pay back or to pay back with interest or whatever. I don't have such cases, thank God. I don't have any godfather.
Everyone on this program tells us that for you to successfully run to be the governor of Anambra, you must have some billions of naira in your account. So how do you intend to raise the money?
Well, I mean, you know, it's what people believe in. If they believe that you need to have some billions, then maybe to make it, they'll have to have some billions. I don't believe that you have to have the billions. For me, actually, on this campaign trail, my message has been different. Yes, you need money to run a campaign, but you're not going to buy the votes or the consciences of the people. And I believe our people have come to a stage where they realize that we can't keep doing things the same way and expect a different result. We've come to that stage now. They've suffered enough. The party also has suffered enough. As I said, it depends on where you're coming from. Some people believe and have actually said that once you have this money, you can buy up everybody. I think a few of us might just be surprised this time around. A few of us might be surprised. There's some people, actually somebody said to me, oh, I'm an investor, you know, and I expect a return on investment. So it depends on what, for me, it's not even an ambition. You know,
so do you really do you really think that the PDP delegates will vote for you without giving them some fat envelopes?
I will tell you that PDP has been out of the corridors. In fact, you know, for over 16 years, our people need some. Now, I hope that our people realize that it's not about today. It's about the future, because all of us are suffering the same thing in Anambra State. That's the truth of the matter. You know, no matter how much you have in your pocket, you still have to, insecurity, everybody is suffering it. That's the truth of the matter. With the healthcare system, especially last year. So even people who have their option B and plan B, nobody could go anywhere. You know, we all were here. So we realize now that, look, if we don't do something about it now, all of us, there might be no us tomorrow. I can assure you this time, things are different. Let's just hope and pray that, you know, our people realize that there's enough suffering. And of course, there'll always be godfather issues, but I think our people, that's what I say to them. You know, the truth of the matter is anybody who's investing billions on this is an investor. That's a word somebody used to me, actually. I'm an investor and I expect a return on investment. Now, if somebody is investing billions into this process, they're going to go there and make an effort to recoup those billions. And then when they recoup the billions, they now have to get their interest on top of their billions. So by the time they're done, it's time for the second tenure. And so I think, in the Anambra way, sense, we're uche. And I think it's dawning on us now that, look, either you eat it now and then maybe you're gone tomorrow. But we need, and I think, people know those who are coming with their hearts and those who are coming with their pockets. And I maybe will surprise the godfathers this time. And by the way, I do have a godfather. I don't think it's a godfather problem. For me, it's an asset. I've said this over and over again. My own godfather has the longest legs. His legs are stretching from heaven and, the earth is his footstool. No greater godfather than that. So yes, I'm going to work my godfather and I'm going to get there and I'm going to make a difference.
I will still talk about money. Someone is asking me in the chat room, why is the moderator insistent on hammering on the influence of money on politics? But I think I will be naive if I don't accept that money plays a very big role in Anambra State. In fact, in any politics, whether in the United States or in the United Kingdom or in Nigeria. So let me ask you a direct question. Are you a billionaire?
Am I a billionaire?
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
So can you tell us, how do you intend to raise the billions needed to prosecute Anambra governorship contest?
The issue, you keep insisting that it needs billions.
Yes, I do. I insist. You need it.
Is it a statement of fact? No, you need money for sure.
Yes.
You need money. But if you look at it really, don't you have instances in Nigeria where people have gotten there without the billions and yet without mortgaging their souls and themselves to godfathers who provided the billions? This time is different. As I said, the people know they have the shoes on and it's pinching hard. You definitely need resources, as you said, even in the US, everywhere else, you need resources to fund campaigns. But I don't know about billions. That's the truth of the matter. So yes, you see, and the difference is I'm privileged to come from I'm looking for a good word, from an angle where I might have resources to be able to fund a campaign, at least up to a certain level. The difference is in the heart. For me, it's not an investment. For me, it's because there's a process that I need to go through to get to where I'm going. So anything I do is, believe it or not, it's like a blessing. If I'm doing something, I feel, oh, this is an opportunity to bless somebody. This is an opportunity to be a blessing to this community, to these delegates, all of that. That's the difference. It's not an investment, and it's not, because I've heard of some people who say, if you're not going to vote for me, make sure you don't touch that money. If you touch it, then if you for well, all of that. So Anambra State is an interesting place, but it depends on where you're coming from and where you're going to and why you're going there.
All right, I thank you very much. Just that someone told me that Anambra State is a place where you come out for politics. Somebody you bring out 2 billion, you say, I want to contest. Another person will bring out 5 billion just to stop you from contesting, not to sponsor another person. But meanwhile, let me not hammer so much on this money issue. I'm willing to accept some questions now before I continue with mine. So if you are raising up your hand, get ready with your questions because I'll be calling you up in a few seconds. Let's start with Tony Okafor. Tony, can you unmute yourself and ask your question to our guest?
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, my question is for the guest. She wants to be governor of Anambra State. My name is Tony Okafor. I am from Agolo. She wants to be the governor of Anambra State. And we're having security in the state. She wants to become the governor. One would like to know whether she has met the incumbent governor and discussed this insecurity problem with him. If this is not good for her, let me ask her, what is her plans for security in Anambra State? Because she can't govern a place that is not conducive for her. That is one. Two, I wasn't comfortable with her free education promise, because she said it's to run from primary 1 to JS3. There is a public policy in education, even at the federal level, that primary 1 to JS3 is free. So it's like she has not promised us anything on scholarship. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you, Tony. Let's allow our guests to address this, because you asked up to 2 or 3 questions. Let's not take another question. Let's allow our guests to address this question first before we take further questions. Lady Onyemelukwe, please.
Thank you. I think the first question was on whether I have discussed with the governor on security. No, the simple answer to that is no, I haven't discussed with the governor on security. I'm in Anambra State, and basically I'm living it. So I know, unless he was asking in terms of what he plans to do, or I'm not quite sure what the essence of the question was, but no, I haven't discussed with the governor on security. But as I said, as I live here, we hear what the policies are, we see what is being done, and we see the efforts that are being done or not done. What is my plan for security? Security is actually not, you find that where we are right now, everybody's providing their own security. I think we all know that in Nigeria, anybody who feels they're worth their weight is carrying their own police. And of course, we have the gates and the high walls and all of that. But security is basically the government's responsibility to provide security, not just security in terms of police and all of that, but security of life and property and economy and everything else. The plan that we have for Anambra State is that Anambra State has to be secure. Security is on the exclusive list, but we're going to have to work with the federal government and we've seen it before in Anambra State, where the state government comes in. We're not allowed to have state police yet, but you come in, and if you help in providing apparatus, providing structures, providing, basically supplementing what the federal government is doing in terms of enhancing the security that we have. You find also in Anambra State now, yes, we have state efforts. We also have community efforts. There are vigilante services in Nnewi, for instance, where I'm from. We have an Nnewi vigilante service. We need to encourage them. We need to supplement what it is they're doing. We need to pour, if we have a security vote in any state in Nigeria, those funds should be up.
Let's take question from OKK. OKK C. If you can unmute yourself now and ask your question.
Hi, Chidi. Onyemelukwe from your neighboring town, Amotla, but taking Oxford, in the UK. Okay. I am an Anambra State has never had an elected female governor, and it would be nice for that to happen this time. Okay. You actually applied your skill as a lawyer to avoid calling PDP a divided party. Okay. Faction is a known culture in Anambra PDP. How would we ensure that PDP is united going into this election? Secondly, I know that you grew up around politics, okay? But what motivated you personally? Motivated you to join your dad in politics, and why should people of Anambra State elect?
Thank you. Should I go ahead and answer or wait?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. OKK from Oxford. Amokbala, that's my brother. Okay, you said, how do I ensure that PDP is united going into this election?
Yes, please.
It's very important to me that PDP is united going into this election, because the truth of the matter is that You said I avoided saying that PDP is divided. I don't know if I avoided saying that, but in 2017, we had issues with the party not being united going into the elections, and I think that worked against us. And I was a part of that ticket. So it's very important to me this time around that we really work together as a party. Even ensure PDP goes into the election united. I think that would simply be with working with everybody. Sometimes in politics, as I said, people maybe tend to forget it's not about the individual, it's about all of us. And then what's most important is that we want the best for Anambra State. So we are already working together. There's 16 of us, a lot of people, but we're already working together. And so I'm assuring everybody, actually, PDP isn't going to have the same issues that we've had in the past. This time we're going in as a united team. So whoever it is who gets the primaries, everybody else is going to work with that person to ensure that we get there. I think that's that one. And then my personal motivation, I think I touched on that at the beginning. Having grown up with a selfless, I have to say, if ever there was a selfless person, I believe that Ide was a selfless man who lived basically for humanity, and that's who he was. He had an open heart and open hands, and he was very giving. So growing up with him, especially with the simplicity of his life, it would be difficult not to want to toe that path, because he lived a very fulfilled life, and he was able to do more in government than he did as an individual. He tried, of course, as an individual, and especially in terms of education. But when you're in a position of authority, just one policy change can affect, like we're talking about free education. The man prior actually had talked about free education. You know, we can have, I had mentioned about the laws, you can have it in the law, everybody has to go to school. If you don't create the enabling environment, nobody is going to go to school, or not everybody will go to school. That's the truth of the matter. If you don't have a way of enforcing those laws, then the laws might as well not be there. So that's my motivation. I want to be able to do more than I can as an individual, and I want Odinma. That's the truth of the matter. That's what my personal motivation is. I lived it, I saw it. I saw the benefits of basically fulfilling, being a blessing. Can. Why elect me? I think that's it, basically. My message is different. My heart is in the right place. It's about sacrifice, it's about giving, it's about service. There's some people who they call it Ndolo. I still don't understand why we call it Ndolo, because it's not about fighting for anything. Each one of us is offering ourselves for service. We want to serve the people. This is my heart. This is what I want to do. If you get in there, you sacrifice. As I said, I've lived it. I lived with somebody who lived selflessly, and it's not a walk in the park.
My question for her is, I have listened and listened. I'm Tango Gochukwu. Let me introduce myself. Tango Gochukwu from Orift, in the school local government. But at the moment I'm in Germany, I live in Nuremberg. My question for her is, listen and understanding her, she's known, she has got her basic in politics. She may look newcomer, but all he's saying is she's talking with experience. And most countries that women rule all over the world are doing fine. Help me ask her, what will be her first priority as a governor of Anambra State, if she really succeed, if she succeed, finish. What will be her first priority?
Okay, we thank you, Tango, because your first question is so direct that it can be picked up. Let's pick another question to ask to this one, please. Maz HT Okoye, please. Can you unmute yourself to add to this one, and then we'll take the rest of the questions as fast as we can. Maz Okoye, please.
Good evening, everyone. This is Mazi Okoye. I'm originally from Ukulu in Njikoka local government. At the moment, I reside in Hertfordshire, United Kingdom. My question goes about what you said earlier. The question you asked our lady earlier about the disconnect between the people and the political elite. Does the lady think that because in my point of view, I think it's more ethical than political. Thank you.
All right, so let our guests take these 2 questions before we take the rest of the questions, please.
Okay.
Tango said, what will be your first priority if you become the governor of Anambra State?
Security is number one. Security, because if we're all hiding in our bathtubs or in the well, then we can't do anything else. So security is number one. And then secondly, I would say is education. Education is second, and then infrastructure.
Okay, my question was the disconnect that Daniel asked you about earlier in the program. Do you think that disconnect is political, or do you think it's more ethical than political? And if it's ethical, how would you go about solving that problem?
Okay, you're talking about the disconnect between the led
Yes.
and the leading.
And the leading, yeah.
Is it political or is it ethical?
Yes.
I think it's both. It simply exists. So it depends, you know, all of this really depends on the leadership. It depends on the individual. As I said, our culture and the environment fosters and breeds the disconnect, because sometimes you find that even the led wants it that way. I gave an example of how, you know, if you're not coming into a function with 20 people or 50 people around you, and people think, oh, you know, you're too simple, you're not serious. And of course, those things bring a disconnect, because if you're coming in with 50 people, you're not going to be able to speak with the person next to you. How the thing is with me, as I said, it depends on the individual. I grew up in an environment where we had open doors. And if you go to our home, it's still, the gates are still open. That's just who we are. That's just who I am. People are basically products of the environment. My life is simple. I'm a very approachable person. That's who I am. And in terms of leadership, as I said, it's important. That's where the ethics come in. When you realize that leadership is about service and it's about the people, and you're there because of the people, not just that they put you in there, but then you're there to serve them, then you realize you can't have a disconnect, because if you're there to serve them, then you can't be on a different pedestal somewhere and not know what is going on. And even as, you know, there's also adaptive leadership, whereby you might think you know it all, and you've decided, for instance, okay, 26% of the budget to education, and you get in there and realize, well, you know, we have to tweak this a little bit. If you know you're accountable to the people, you have to go back to those people. Well, I promised 26% budgetary allocation to education, but now we're here, we see we need to tweak it a little. Maybe it needs to come down to 20% because now we have more security, whatever it is. The important thing is that you're carrying the people along and you're accountable to them. And because whatever it is you're working with belongs to them, they need to be a part of the process. They need to know what you're doing, and you need to be accountable to them, for them also to hold you accountable. I hope that answers your question.
Yes,
yes, to an extent.
Okay, well, thank you very much. So the next question from Mr. Onebu, please. And then Mr. Lord Swish, please get ready. Mr. Onebu, if you can please unmute yourself.
Good evening. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. My question is coming from Holland.
If you can introduce yourself.
My question here is simple.
Okay, go ahead.
My name is Onebu. Already you can see it on my name there. Then I stay in Holland. My question goes to the lady Onyemelukwe. You see, whenever somebody is running for a post, some of the things he or she promised to do, when they take the position, we see them, they cannot do it. Why? Because some of the projects can be projects that can take even 20 years to achieve. When you started it, somebody can promise, now we build road from here to here, we pay the pension, I will do things, even not knowing whether he will meet money. in the government when he's there, then is it not better for people to promise us something and tell us exactly what it will take them to achieve what they promise? Because we are getting confused of when we talk to the whole politician, we don't even know which one to choose because all of them say the same thing. But at the end, nothing is achieved. The state, the country remain the same. Now, the last question is, yesterday, even Governor Aspirant cannot connect because of network. And we see how it's going on your side now. When you become the governor of Anambra State, what are you going to do about networking in a discussion like this? Thank you.
Well, thank you. Let's
Thank
allow
you,
our guest to
Mr.
respond.
Onyemelukwe from Holland.
Go ahead, madam.
Okay. I think the first question was about us making promises and not knowing exactly what it is we're going to meet when we get there. I think I actually kind of addressed that when I was answering the other question. In the end, it's all about leadership and it's all about accountability. As I said, you have to be accountable to the people and carry them along. Like I said, when I was giving an example, I said we've said we're going to allocate 26% of the budget to education. And the example I use is if we get in there, we need to tweak it. What is important is that you get back to the people. That's adaptive leadership. You can have all the plans. I'm going to build all the roads in Anambra State, and Anambra is going to become New York or Dubai or wherever it is. As you said, Mr. Onyemelukwe, I agree with you. You get in there and things aren't quite the same. What is important is that you know you are accountable to the people and you run a transparent government. That means whatever it is that you have to work with, you work with it for Anambra State and not for yourself. That is the basic thing, because even with the best of ideas and the best of wills, if you don't have anything to work with, you cannot work with it. But then also, even if you have everything to work with and you don't have the will and your heart isn't in the right place, those things still won't get done. So you're saying, what will it take for us to do what it is we said we would do? I think you still need both, because as you said, if you get there and you have nothing to work with, there's nothing you can do. But the point, which is the most important thing, is whatever it is you have to work with, make sure you use it for what it's supposed to be. And then you have to be innovative, because we have to be able to increase our IGR. Clearly, we're hearing stories of how Anambra State is indebted. In the end, the truth of the matter is no one of us aspirants is going to know the extent of the hole that the state is in till you get there and open the door. Then you know the extent of it. So we're all going to have to be innovative. We're going to have to work with what we have and then be innovative to be able, but most importantly, once you run an accountable government and transparent, that way you're also able to attract investors. If you run, once there's opaqueness or it's not clear, nobody's going to want to come and invest here. But when they see, we've done it before. We had international partners who came and invested in us. Once you run a transparent government, you're on the right path. So the second question about networking, I think we're coming back to your first question. I could say to you, once I get there in a month, we're going to have connectivity and there'll be no issues with, we can all have a Zoom meeting. But won't we be going back to exactly what you're talking about? The important thing is we're going to have to work on connectivity. That's not priority, but that's important, because if we're opening up Anambra State to be a hub for business, I mean, our people are enterprising. We're going to have to work on infrastructure, not just infrastructure as in roads, infrastructure as in connectivity. These are things, so it's going to be multifaceted, because we're going to have to be able to communicate with the rest of the world and move Anambra State along. So I don't want you accusing me of saying I will do it in a month, but I know the things that need to be done. We're all going to get together and look into Anambra State. What do we need to do? How are we going to do it? Get the best people to work with and then hit the ground running.
All right, we thank you very much. Lord Switch, please, can you unmute yourself, followed by Mr. Michael Okoye, please. Lord Switch, can you please unmute yourself to ask your question?
Good evening, everybody. First of all, I want to thank you all for participating. And with a very special kudos to the madam. Madam, good evening to you too. I want to commend you for coming on board too. It's not an easy task. However, my question is simple before I now added an additional kind of advice to it. My own question is this, how ready are you to get the ticket first? The reason why I'm asking this question is this, I don't always like to ask people, what can you do for Anambra State? Or what can you do when you get to the governorship? Or what can you do when you get to the pedestrian until you get the ticket first? The reason why I'm asking this, I've participated in Anambra State election. Sorry that I did not give my name. My name is Comrade Loswish Obiora from Ichitown here, near Newi. So I live in Lagos. However, I've participated in Anambra State elections for over 10 years now, active participant, not just GoCom. I've worked as an internal, both an internal and external. The reason why I'm saying this is that recently, I think about a few months ago, about 2 or 3 months, we hosted some of our new aspirants over there in Lagos. Why some of them, I don't want to call them, why some of them we are talking? I equally raised these particular questions. They said, have you gotten the ticket first before you should come and challenge? That's where the number one issue is. Internal, be clearing. Have you gotten the ticket first? Because when you want to face the challenges outside, you must treat internal first. Now, I knew that some of the ticket itself, some of the nomination form itself is 21 million, 20 to 21 million for expression forms. So when you get that first, you will now be able to get the other one. And it's not even the rightful, just as a criteria that you should get the other 5 distinct, but you have to nominate that one. The reason why I'm saying this is that right here, the little one, most of the ones have participated. He found out that even at the last point, I just want to make a reference. At last point, there was a day at eve of election, ACA General Local Government put about 3,000 PVC that do not have names. Most of these names we are brought in to cast elections of fish. Other people's of which so many people have been canvassing, know when they win, and these people will win. Why am I mentioning all these things? The reason why I'm bringing this thing up, I didn't want to call names, but I've been part and parcel. I've learned.
You know the level we are now is still within the PDP primary.
So the reason why I'm saying this is that good name or good vision, all these things that you articulated here, doesn't win election in Anambra State. You must be brutal, and you must be.
What is your question? What's your question?
My question is this: how is she ready to circumvent the hurdles of internal party democracy or treat first before coming down to Anambra State? That's number one.
Okay,
it's very important. Because you don't get the ticket, there's no point talking about the other side of it, because I'm here the guys around. That's the most important thing. However,
do you have another question?
I would like to go on another point. So
you have another question or just this one?
I'm okay with this one. So that's the most important thing.
Wait, thank you.
Another one is just like advice. We talk about. Can you hear me, Elombah?
Okay, quickly, please.
Please, my advice to most of our time, we all often hear about that most of the participants and most of the electorates are not helping matter. Once they give them money, they compromise. Madam, what will you have to say about Imo State, whereby some of the view candidate has actually been voted in? Here, just like this instance I gave you, when you even qualify to have been voted by people, and some people towards the back, seen as you really get something, even with brought in and bypass or customize the election PVC. So these are the issues. I'm not saying that other people are not trying. What you said is not the right thing. But you should also look from that angle, because these people, this is just like appear to be having a systematic approach that has been actually devised not to circumvent that circle. The moment they get to that place, everything changes, just like Enablement mentioned. Thank you so much.
We thank you very much, Mr. Obiora, for your contributions and for being with us tonight. Thank you. Let's take another question before we move on with this, Madam, please. Mr. Okoli, please, Michael.
Yeah, good evening. Afamobo Michael Okoli, Aumonyoko. I live in United Kingdom. I'm not even in part of my question, that was the question one way. And that question is, the PDP had just announced their the date for their primary in June. And looking at the men of Timber and Caravan and the women as well that are in this that are vying for this position. And as a woman you are, and this was others, and these men, you know how difficult it is to face men in politics. So I want to know how prepared are you, and what is that you have, the confidence you have now that you're gonna secure that ticket, because that is the most important thing. So that is my question. How prepared are you, and what confidence do you have to secure the party ticket? So, thank you.
Mike, thank you very much for being with us tonight. Please listen to our guest.
Okay, thank you. I can take the questions now.
Yes, madam.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lord's wish. What I have here is how ready am I and how will I circumvent, well, I suppose all the bombs and things that will be on the path, or that are usually on the path, how prepared I am, or how prepared am I? Well, I would want to say I'm more prepared than anybody else, because I was prepared from 2017. I was the deputy governorship candidate for PDP, and so we were prepared, and we ran the election with a very good manifesto, which was drawn up. It was our party manifesto, because we ended up being the candidates of the party. And we had some solid backing from a governor who had been in the saddle and who is proclaimed to be the best governor that Anambra State has had. And so he had an major insight into what it was that needed to be done and where it had gone wrong and what would be the best way to get it back on the right path. So in terms of the preparedness, that aspect of it, I am prepared. This is 4 years later. I would like to believe that our people know that anybody who's running for governor or who's running for deputy governor should be capable also to be governor, because if anything happens to the governor, then the deputy governor becomes a governor. So whether or not the person is female or male or brutal, I like the question about how, I have to be brutal. I don't think proclaimed best governor of Anambra State is a brutal person. He's actually a very simple, quiet man, but he gets the job done. I think that is what is important. In terms of confidence, I don't think I'm lacking in that. I would say that if we believe that it's impossible for any distant person to get in a position of authority or to become governor of Anambra State, then we might as well all just pack up shop. And we won't say, let us leave it for the people who are brutal and who know how to twist the PVCs or whatever it is the stories are. We need to come out and do what we need to do so we can change the narrative. And we can't also sit back and say it takes billions. So anybody who doesn't have billions will not go there. Then we will never get things right. We can't leave it to the investors. We're going to have to keep pushing our message that, look, decent people, no matter how dirty it is, no matter how brutal it is, people who have their hearts in the right place, who are ready to serve, be it male or female, will come out. It also encourages other people. And, we have young people coming up. We have young women, young girls. They need to know that, look, if you have it and your heart is in the right place, you can get it done. One day, that message will hit home. And that's the only way we're going to change things around. We can't sit back and let the brutes take over. I think that has answered both questions. We're saying that things are difficult in this terrain, but we're going to have to change it. Otherwise, we're going to keep having the same problem.
Chikobi, now, are you able to now articulate your questions in 1 minute, please? Chikobi.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Please, I have a question for Madam. My question goes like this. If you eventually emerge as a governor of Anambra State, how are you going to deal with unemployment rate we have in Anambra State? That is one. Then two, our healthcare sector, how are you going to handle it? I've heard you saying something about budget. I don't know if the budget you are talking about is the one realistic budget or the type of the one we have in Anambra right now. Thank you. That's my question. Over and out.
All right, we thank you very much for making it brief. Okay, Atmo, we don't know your real name, but unmute yourself, please, and ask your question. Atmo.
Hello,
Yeah,
how are you doing?
Fine, thank you, sir.
You can hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please let me. All right, thank you. What am I doing wrong?
Go ahead. We are hearing you.
Okay. I was trying to see if I can put on my video, but it seems not to be working. Anyway,
it's okay. Go ahead,
no
please.
problems. All right. Good evening. I was going to say Lolo. That's okay too. Thank you so much for this, for inviting me to this place. I'll just ask a very simple question. The preparing for the election itself, whether it's primary or the election, we have to get the electorate to vote. I like your idea of sensitizing the people. Now, the population of Anambra State is changing, even though it is gradual. It's really changing. You have a large influx of immigrants from all over. Onitsha is an example. Nob is an example. Oka itself has been an immigrant town. My question to you is this: how are you sensitizing these people, not just for the vote itself, but long term for a seamless community whereby echi anyamanu no nwere ndị bịalụ na a certain community na-erizi eke a na-asọ asọ because they were not well assimilated into the community. But this is just an idea I'm throwing out there. Look out for it, get them registered. Ebonyi Bikon Awachi. You don't have to travel back to Ebonyi or to Enugu to vote. You are an 042 girl, so you know what I'm talking about. Ebonyi Bikon Awachi. You contribute to the progress of the people. And also long term, carrying any conflicts between the emerging immigrant population in Anambra State and of course Ndi Umudian and their parents before the others came. Thank you very much and good luck. Win or lose, we're behind you.
We thank you very much, sir. Atmo. Now, Sir Augustine Ike, please.
The first question was from Chike Obi. Unemployment rates, how do we plan to tackle that? It's the government's responsibility to create an enabling environment for businesses to thrive. As I said, our people are very resourceful, hardworking people. SMEs, that's the main creator of wealth world over, not just here. And I had said earlier, I was essay to President Obasanjo on SMEs. Our people thrive on that. Let's get the infrastructure working. Let's create the environment where our people can thrive. Let's work on educating our people, talking about education. And education is not just mainstream education, but also vocational schools. Let's teach our people what to do with their hands. Let's also patronize home-based businesses. For instance, right here in Amnewi, oh my goodness, it goes without saying, we have many things that we produce here, even up to cars. We have Innocent here. And really, quite frankly, there's no reason why any government in the Southeast should get any other cars but Innocent. We need to patronize our own. We need to patronize our own. Once we get things working and we have the right environment for our people, unemployment. What I would want to say about unemployment, it's not just about being employed. We don't need to be employed to thrive. We can be employers. We can have our small businesses. That's what we thrive in. Once we get the environment right, okay, I was saying where, I'm not sure the last thing you heard, but I was talking about basically government creating the right environment, supporting home-based businesses, right environment for PPP, for SMEs, so that our people can thrive. The important thing is for our people to be empowered and be able to work, which we are known for. And then also, as a government, be transparent, be accountable, be frugal, and get things done right. That way you also attract others to come in and to invest. And that way we increase our IGR. I hope that answers your question. I'm sorry I've expanded it because it's not just about our people being employed. So it's not just about unemployment rates. what somebody had asked, sorry, I saw that going on the screen, how old am I? And it was going on for a while. That I can answer that quickly. I was born April 29, 1968, so I'm 53. I know I look 16, but I'm 53.
Exactly.
Yes, sensitizing the people. Mr. Mo was saying about sensitizing the people. Anambra State is full of Ndi Biabia. And I think I wouldn't even say Anambra State is full of villages anymore because even though we have, you know, the Federal Polytechnic there are lots of people from, I think we're working well with that because Nannewi, for instance, we have, in the PDP, for instance, the chairman of our local government is an Nnewi person, but right there, it's part of the norm for us that the vice chairman has to be Onye Biabia. Why? Because in Nnewi, we have people from Enugu, Abakaliki, all over the place in here. So I think our people, but yes, and our people, we have a lot of people here who are already, they're registered. In 2017, I realized that in the Enugu, the 042 people, my people, they're a huge number of people and they don't vote outside of Anambra State. The same thing with India Abakaliki. We have a lot of people who are there. And I think they blended well in our system. Sensitizing, I'm very concerned about our younger people once they turn 18, knowing, listen, you need to register to vote, you need to exercise, you can't sit and complain, you need to be a part of the process. And in fact, that's part of why I'm here. As I said, I can't say, oh, it doesn't work for women, it doesn't work for people who are decent, let me sit back. Then I'm doing myself and the rest of the decent people in Anambra State and injustice. Campaign, what's my campaign theme? Restored. Anambra State restored. We want a better life for Anambra State people. We want to restore Anambra State on the path to greatness. Yes, we want to restore our people's, really, that's the truth of the matter, and decency to leadership, to governance, to our structures and everything else in Anambra State. Thank you. I think I got them all.
We thank you very much, Lady Chidi Onyemelukwe, for being with us tonight. We have so many questions coming up. If you promise me to ask you a question in 15 seconds, then I'll call you. So Augustine Ike, please, you dropped out the other time. Can you ask your question in 15, 20 seconds? Your network is not responding. You can unmute yourself. Go ahead.
She's making us proud. We are proud of her.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I said I want to thank her. We are proud of her. She's making us proud.
Okay, thank you very much, Sir Augustine Ike. Obiamalo R, please, quickly.
Good morning over here from Los Angeles. Mrs. Onyemelukwe, thank God we're seeing your face in the media. On behalf of the aspirants in this part of the world, I know you personally. In my own opinion, you are by far heads and shoulders the most qualified of all the candidates I've seen so far. And we're wishing you, some of the participants here have asked us challenging questions. How are you going to wade through the labyrinth, that druggedness that is the Nigerian politics? But knowing you have a few cats off your basket. It's not something you're going to divulge here, but we wish you God's blessing and guidance because you need that. It is a dangerous and very, very tenuous terrain that you're going through. We know our people, but I know in my heart of hearts that you are by far heads and shoulders the most qualified to run and lead us in that state. And we wish you the blessing, God's guidance and protection, and you have it. We're just waiting for that miracle to happen for us, and that's you. Thank you for showing up today. We're privileged to have you today, okay?
We thank you, Sir Reginald Obiamalo, for being with us tonight. Okay, Lady Onyemelukwe, please. What will be your summation of your message to Anambra tonight and to the PDP members particularly?
Summation of my message tonight to the Anambra and the PDP as well let's do things differently this time. Let's do things right this time. Because in the end, if we don't do the right thing, it affects us, it affects our children, and it affects the future. We owe it to ourselves and to the generations ahead of us and to our God to do the right thing. Let's have the right motives this time. For the PDP, let what is driving us be what is best for Anambra State and what it is that we can stand tall and say, yes, I did the right thing. I pray really for Anambra State that the right person gets in, because for me and for everybody else, that's what we need to do. For me personally, I'm committing that I will be accountable to the people and to God. If Anambra people give me the mandate, I know that what I'll be going there to do is service, selfless service for the future and for the generations to come. Thank you, and God bless Anambra State.
We thank you very much, Lady Chidi Onyemelukwe, for being with us tonight. And thank you for creating time for almost 2 hours now, answering the questions coming to you patiently. Going from the conversations going on in the chat room and on Facebook, our listeners, our viewers, seem very much impressed with the questions and the answers you've given to our questions. So we thank you very much tonight, and we wish you the best in your endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I hope you'll have me back again.
I would love to.